Well, hello, and welcome to the PGH Writing Command Center for another podcast episode from God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC. Even though we have that cool intro music, I still like to push that button. It might be habit. Hey, here we are. It is a rainy Sunday. It's one of those autumn. It's not real. Let's check the weather station here at the Writing Command Center. We got a lot of gizmos here. No, we don't. Actually, it's pretty sparse. It's 68 degrees here in central Virginia, but it's a little humid and it's got this storm offshore and it's got a lot of drippy, rainy things going on out there. And I like drippy, rainy things in the fall. You know, the gentle drips. I hope I can pick them up on the microphone here as backdrop. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. I am John Hausleben of God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC. I am the flagship author, chief photographer, music reviewer, music critic, and kind of do everything guy here at God Bless the Keg Publishing with a little help from my friends. And we have a sparse crowd. It's early on a Sunday. We're getting ready for the Jets game, for the Jets to lose. For the Jets game. And if this is your first time tuning into this crazy old man from New Jersey and his crazy podcast, well, then welcome. If you are a long time or repeat listener, then welcome back. And we're really happy you're here to join us today. And before we get digging in too deep, we got a little business to conduct here. So let me rattle pages for dramatic effect. And get your little Orphan Annie decoder pins out because it's time for a word from our proud sponsor. And this podcast is proudly sponsored by Corporate Facilities Group Incorporated, the leader in technical consulting, facilities maintenance, facilities management, and operations, as well as property maintenance and management services throughout America. And now, CFG Incorporated is proud to announce a new department, a new initiative, headed up by the amazing Mr. Steve McMillan. And the small crowd, everybody loves Steve. Let's give it up for Steve. Steve brings as many years of experience as he manages pre-construction services and estimating for residential development, residential renovations, and light commercial projects for Corporate Facilities Group Incorporated. So before you spend big bucks on a project, give old Steve Aruski a call. Let him check it out. Let him check that contractor scope and price to make sure your hard-earned money is going in exactly the right place. Check them out on the web at www.corporatefacilitiesgroup1.com. That's www.corporatefacilitiesgroup1.com. You can also click on the little link whoozy in the podcast episode website, and the internet will take you right to the CFG website. So we'd like to thank Lydia, Steve, and Liliana at CFG Incorporated for sponsoring the podcast, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you. And if you would like to sponsor this podcast, then just send us an email at godblessthekegpublishing@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to make the connection and see what we can do. I'm from New Jersey. We're going to work a good deal and a good deal more. If you have a charity, a not-for-profit event, or a goodwill event you would like Paulie to announce here on the podcast, anywhere in the world, we'll send us an email again, and we'll check you out and mention on the podcast. And I do have two events I would like to mention. If for my old New Jersey folks, we got the Butler, Kinnelon, New Jersey Veterans Wreaths Group. They are meeting at the Wendy's on the famous Route 23. I've got to tell some Route 23 stories when the airplane landed on Route 23. Everything happens on Route 23. The old circle, the Wayne Circle. I think it was at Ratzer Road. But at any rate, I'm sorry. The Veterans Wreath Group meets at the Wendy's 1204 on New Jersey Route 23 in Butler, New Jersey, zip code 07405. They're meeting on Tuesday, the 14th of October, 2025, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And what this organization does is they raise money, and then the volunteers, everybody purchases Christmas wreaths, and they put wreaths on the graves of veterans. Great cause. So as of now, 819 wreaths out of 2,200 wreaths that they need are sponsored. So check it out. The main organization is wreathsacrossamerica.org. So that's 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Butler, New Jersey Wendy's on Route 23 on Tuesday, the 14th of October. Check it out. And for you folks in Central Virginia and the Richmond area, we have the Richmond Restaurant Week, which is October 20th through 26th of 2025. And that is where restaurants agree to provide meal, and then $5.24 of every single meal purchase goes to the Feed More organization for hunger relief. You can check that out at www.rrromeoromeoweek.com. And that's a great way for you restaurant folks to sample some restaurants and check them out. And some of the dough that you spend goes to a good cause. And of course, you get a nice meal too. I checked out the website when I received this request, and they got some really cool restaurants on here that Paulie happens to pop in on occasion. One of them I'm going to check out, and $5 and change goes to the good cause. So there you go. So if you do have a charity or goodwill function, send it ahead, and we'll be sure to get it on air. I know with the holiday season coming, we got a lot of stuff going on. And I can only read so much, but I'll be happy to do what I can. I'd also like to thank Briggsy Studios for the cool intro music. Check Briggsy Studios out on the web. You can do an internet search, and also on the Pixabay website. So here we are, and this is part 2 of Magic of Radio. And this has been a tumultuous weekend. I've got a lot of things I've done, and it's been so busy. I mentioned I did an artificial intelligence podcast yesterday, I think it was. And it was a busy, busy day, and I mentioned in that podcast that when the fall of the year comes, it's Jethro Tull music here in the Writing Command Center as a backdrop, and I'm not sure why, except for the prog folk thing going on, but also the great John Lodge passed away from the Moody Blues, so we've been spinning Moody Blues all weekend too, and we will continue to do so. That's very sad. I mean, only of the classic lineup, really, only Justin Hayward is alive. Of course, on the latter years of the blues, we had Patrick Moraz of Yes fame, Relayer album, where he tinkled the keyboards on that album. And I always thought he did a good job. And Moraz also played for the Moody Blues in the 80s. So only those two folks left. Time marches on, Father Time, undefeated. At any rate, so we've been playing some Moody Blues, great, great melodies, wonderful music, and I tuned around on the bands last night, AM, medium wave, long wave, whatever you want to call it, and I'm very, very surprised on the heels of my Magic, Radio Magic Part 1. We talked about all the independent stations where music's maybe still spun in a free play format. But I tuned around on the AM band, and I'll be honest, it's been a little while since I got on to that band and tuned it at night. And the skies are getting clearer now at night. Propagation's opening up on those frequencies. On the amateur radio band, 80 meters, 40 meters, 7 megahertz, 3.5 megahertz, and the 1.8 megahertz, which is getting up near the AM, 160 meters, starting to open up a little bit late at night. So I used one of my really, really good receivers. I just didn't use a table radio, but I'm antenna limited here in the Writing Command Center. So we used our famous downspout and gutter antenna outside here that we tapped into with a little alligator clip, and I tuned the bands, and I was very surprised at the amount of music being played on the AM band. And some of these stations were weak. I copied some call signs, and some of them were in the mud, maybe in the Midwest, up and down the East Coast too. and I snagged a Canadian station too. And honestly, there is AM back in the heyday, well, much different. We talked about that in part one, and then it migrated over to primarily talk with a little sports and some news and very little music. But last night, I tuned in a lot of music. And yes, a lot of it is Spanish stations. My Spanish is not too swift. Um, can follow a little bit. Thank you, Callie Rose, for teaching me a little Spanish. And then some Arabic. Picked up some Arabic. And but the music, I actually caught a station playing Moody Blues. Um, I guess is a tribute to John Lodge, and it fascinated me that there is and are radio stations out there on AM still playing um, music. And of course, you have the religious stations, and they're going to play their music too, their hymns and their religious recordings. And there is a lot of preaching going on out there, and there's a lot of different things. But I'm going to give it a spin now that the weather's clearing and you don't have the static and the terrible QRN, as we call it, and QRM, interference and noise. Uh, you have the thunderstorm activity, and it kind of really gets crashing in the old cans on those hot summer nights. So the air is clear and the propagation is popping, and Paulie's going to be tuning the band. Maybe dust off that old AM radio there. There's something magical. There's absolutely something magical in turning on an old vintage radio and letting the tubes come to life, or even if it's transistor, even if it's a solid state radio, even if it's a new SDR. The one requirement Paulie wants is a dial light. I love the glow of the dial light. I shut off all the lights in the writing command center, and it's dark. It's sort of like my old man always used to shut all the lights out in the house when we first lit up the Christmas tree. He tried to do it at night, and it's so beautiful this year. And I'm the same way with my radio. I liked it. Not if I'm transmitting on ham, because I got to see stuff, but I'll turn lights down and then just watch the glow of that dial light. It's magical when I tune across the band and different stations pop out and you stop and you listen. I remember a few Christmases back, and it's not that long ago. It's not that long ago. And I was tuning on Christmas Eve, and I was picking up, some stations talking Christmas, and there they were playing Christmas music. And I came across, and I'm gonna forget his last name. I think it's Sid Mark. Maybe I'm right, Sidney Mark. And I don't know if he's still alive or if this was an old recording made during the Christmas season. He was spinning Sinatra, and I think it was out of a station, an AM station out of Philadelphia. And I sat there listening to the whole broadcast there on Christmas Eve, and he was giving some history of Sinatra. I think he was a big Sinatra guy, like Jonathan Schwartz over there at WNEW-FM. But at any rate, I tuned in, and that was a great program on a Christmas Eve. And you just find these fascinating things. So the radio stations are out there, folks. And mostly, I think the magic lies in the independent stations, like we talked about on part one of the podcast. So I'm going to continue to pursue that. And today on this podcast, I have resurrected. And I mentioned this before, and we actually played a clip of this. I think it was the Labor Day, the special holiday broadcast of Labor Day with Harry and Paul, and we did the roller skating story, The Eye of the Tiger. And I played a snippet, just a piece of reading that story, or not reading, I guess I was doing it from memory. And I wasn't reading it verbatim from the pages of the short story. That's from Time Bomb in the Cupboard and Other Adventures of Harry and Paul. And I was on a small independent, it's a college radio station, a peanut whistle station. And they invited crazy old Paul on here to fill up some time on a Saturday afternoon. And you can tune in the Labor Day podcast for more background on that. But that was a small, obviously a teaching station for college students and folks that wanted to get into media, maybe get into radio or broadcasting or whatever their college ambitions and their studies and their career ambitions were. And it was a cool little radio station. I mean, it's 15 years ago now, so I'm sure technology and unfortunately AI and all that stuff has gotten into that and changed things. But it was a classic old station with the classic microphone and the little engineer behind the glass, and you're in this little booth, and it was small. It wasn't much bigger than where I'm sitting now at the command center. But at any rate, so we had a blast. We had an absolute blast there, and we did many sessions on Saturday afternoon. I don't remember, but some of them we laid down on magnetic tape. And the engineer guy, he was a like a part-time employee because he had the licensing and the station technology knowledge to run all the transmitter stuff and everything. And like I said, you can listen to the other podcasts for more background on that. But at any rate, we laid it down on magnetic, and then I got the tape from that fella, and then we created some CDs with Paulie. And like I said, I think we printed 200 copies, and my mother bought 199 of them. But I have it in my hand here, and it's called Excerpts of Memories, the master raconteur at the microphone, Paul John Hausleben. So it's kind of cool. It's under the genre of humorous storytelling, and I did a rudimentary internet search, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know where if we sold it on the big Amazon machine or whatever. I don't know. But at any rate, it has 4 cuts on it. The Dubious Double Date, which is from Geyer Street Gardens. It's a humorous chapter about when the famous Harry M. Redmond Jr. attempts to date 7 ladies, 7 ladies in the same day, and things go awry. Then there was Moving Cricket's Couch, which I think is from, I think it's from the dance, the spring collection. And Harry and Paul are scrapped for money, as usual. Then there's Cruising in the Taka Junkie, which is a play on a Japanese car. When you're not famous like me, and you're an author, you really hesitate putting actual car names to real vehicles in your publication without permission from the manufacturer, because now if you're a famous guy, they pay you to put the name of the but I'm not famous. So we made up funny names. It's a humorous story. It's a humorous book. And I want to say that does come from the spring collection too. I think that comes from the show. And it's a shame that I can't remember all these things, but I've written a lot of short stories and books. And then that is a humorous Harry and Paul adventure from the Adventures of Harry and Paul. And it's about them resurrecting this old Japanese compact car, fixing it up, and then going cruising for chicks. And we always went to areas where the girls didn't know us because we ran out of girls in our neighborhood. They knew we were poor bums. So we had to go to the outskirts of Patterson, to the suburbs, because then the girls didn't know that we were bums, you see. But of course, when they looked at the famous Taka Junkie, they knew. And then it segues right into the old neighborhood, which is kind of a sappy, emotional thing where I lament about, times gone by and living in the past and nostalgia of the old neighborhood. And that's from Reunion, the book Reunion, which was a sequel novel to The Night Always Comes. One of my favorite novels. Reunion's really cool. But we recorded these at the radio station, and then we put them on CD. So this is a small little independent, and the magic of radio here is that if you dig deep enough, like I did last night, you can still find magic out there. So I really hope that I can inspire some folks to, pick up a good quality radio if you don't have one already, and just put on a pair of earbuds and You don't have to use cans like I use, and tune the band and see what you come up with. So I'm going to break away here, and I'm going to play the last snippet that we have here. The excerpts and memories is really long. It's like over an hour. I guess it filled up the CD. I want to say it's like an hour and 16, 18 minutes for the whole CD. So I'll have to play it in segments. And this gig is about 20 minutes, maybe 22 minutes long. So we'll flip a little of the technology here and try not to make too many mistakes on pushing the buttons because I'm not too. All right, that's enough. Not too swift at this stuff, but I'm going to segue into the recording from the radio station. Magic of Radio Part 2. Hang on, folks. Paulie will be right back.
The books are full of spoofs and some fun names and some spins on things that happened years ago in the 1970s. And in keeping with the spirit of the books, I got to tell you about and this is another true adventure, Harry and Paul. And I mention it in The Night Always Comes. And it shows up there, and it's gone into in depth in the summer collection. And I want to say it's going to be in the story. I think it's The Dance. And it's about, Harry bought this. And I'm going to use the names I use in the books, and you can figure it all out. But in the 70s, Japanese cars, they weren't real reliable when they first came out, and my old man, he grew up in the manufacturing business, and whenever he saw foreign things, he'd get his back up because, he smelled jobs going overseas, and in retrospect, boy, was he on target. But anyway, the Japanese cars, the first couple cars were not too swift, and Harry bought a 1971 Taka Junkie. And it was against my dad's best recommendations. And he got a good deal on it. And it was a nice looking car. We talk about it in the books. It's mentioned a number of times. And the Taka Junkie was a cool car. Had, I embellish it quite a bit, but it had a cool radio on there. And it ran pretty good. It was not a bad car. 4-door sedan. It had a nice clean body on it. And the choke gave us fits on winter days. We used to take the air cleaner off and put a pencil in there so we could get it to run. And finally, we ripped the automatic choke out and put a manual choke on the dashboard, drilled a big hole. But it had a really cool big radio on the dashboard. And in the books, I embellished the radio. But if you push the button, it would go up and down the dial with this mechanical needle thing searching for radio stations. The only problem with the Taka Junkie, it got great gas mileage too, was that it had these tricky door latches, and when you would hit a bump, the doors would pop open. I mean, once you were used to it, it wasn't so bad, but at first it could be a little precarious. But we got used to it. We knew where all the bumps were on the road, you see, and we'd be flying down the road, and we'd yell, we'd be having a general conversation. So we'd be like, oh, there's a hockey game this Saturday night. Bump! And that meant that you had to hold the door. And then after you went over the bump, you went back to your conversation. The back doors, that wasn't a problem. You see, we usually didn't have too many passengers. So Harry just put a rope through the back doors to hold the doors together. We went to the junkyard. We got latches out of another Taka Junkie, and they did the same thing. I guess it was an inherent problem. But my old man swore that the Taka Junkies were recycled trash cans. You see, years ago they had galvanized metal in the trash cans, and they kind of got rid of them, and they went to the plastic. So we shipped all the trash cans overseas, and my old man said the Japanese made the Taka Junkie bodies and metal bodies out of the old recycled trash can. But Harry had this infatuation in the 70s with this Australian singer, a woman, beautiful woman. And, what's more, I'm going to stick with the books. And in the books, we call her cubic zirconia. And she started out singing, country, and then she moved over to pop. And she was a gorgeous woman. No auto-tune needed on her. And man, she could sing. And Harry loved her. He had every one of her tapes, and we mention her in The Night Always Comes, and she makes a lot of appearances here and there. And it was really based upon Harry's just love of this singer. And later on, she branched out into movies, you see. And she made this famous movie with this guy, John Revolting. And it was, I call it Cruising in the books. And it was a typical story, and it was a musical, you see. And I'm not big. These musicals, you know, they get on my nerves, like the 76 finely tuned instruments. And the problem with musicals are they sing too much. Right? There's like 4 words of dialogue. They're like, oh, okay, well, there's a big dance on Sunday. Let's have a song. Blah, 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 da, dee, da, dee. Then they sing a song, and then there's 4 more words of dialogue. And they say, oh, it's time to sing another song. Blah. It just gets on. It needs more dialogue, folks. But she made this famous movie, typical high school teenage angst, you know, and she's like this prim and proper gal. And she comes from, you know, another country. She moves to America. She doesn't know anybody, blah, blah, blah. And the handsome football player or the big star or greaser guy in the high school or something she's attracted to. I don't remember the storyline. I just remember they sang a lot. And, you know, it's probably one of the more popular movies of all time, to be honest with you. It's very, very famous. But anyway, and Harry just loved her. He had all her tapes. We had 8-tracks, you see. The Taka Junkie had an 8-track. And, you know, if Harry was in a bad mood or he broke up with some twidging and he was depressed, he'd play her ballads and he'd sob his eyes out. And if he felt better, he'd have a more upbeat cubic zirconium tape going there, and he'd be dancing around a little bit. He loved her. He absolutely loved her. So, you know, a big pastime of ours was cruising for chicks. And later on, Harry got a fancy sports car, which helped considerably with our appeal. But for the most part, we started out cruising with the Taka Junkie, you see. And I had this old wreck of a van, and nobody paid any attention to me. So we always took Harry's cars. And so we were cruising up in the shopping center, shopping mall, you know. And we were looking for chicks. And needless to say, with the Taka Junkie, we weren't having too much success. It was a Saturday night or something. So we were just about ready to concede defeat, and we go into the shopping mall, and we're just sitting there and having some ice cream or something. And these two young ladies walk up to us. You know, we must have caught their eye type thing. And they were kind of cute, and they started this conversation with us. And Harry had this thing, you know, when he would spot 2 gals from, say, 5,000 yards away, he'd immediately select the better looking twidget. You know, he'd say, I got the one on the right, Paul. You got the one on the left. He was like claiming his property, you see. So these gals walked up. He says, I got the one on the left. You got the one on the right. And they were both kind of cute. They were nice gals. And so we scraped together a few bucks, and, you know, we bought them ice creams or whatever, and we were sitting there talking. And Harry finally says, you know, you want to go riding around, listen to music in my car there, you know. And at first they're a little reluctant, you know, they don't really know us. We could be a bunch of wackos, and we are, but we had no ill intentions, of course. So they concede that we can ride around the shopping mall parking lot only. And the utter disappointment on their face when they saw the Taka Junkie was something I'll never forget. And of course, they just broke up with their boyfriends too, you know, and they have sports cars. And we have a Taka Junkie. But anyway, we took the ropes off the back so that I could sit in the back. So I can't remember the one girl's name. I want to say her name was Janet, and I can't remember the other gal's name that Harry was with. Anyway, so we're cruising around the shopping mall, and they're like, we can't leave the shopping mall here type thing, and, you know, we don't trust you bozos. And all of a sudden, Harry sees on the marquee for the movie theater, he sees Kubik's movie there, Cruising, with John Revolting, starring John Revolting and cubic zirconium. And Harry's like, oh my gosh, Cruising is playing here. I gotta see Cruising. You girls want to see Cruising, Paul? You want to see Cruising? And like I said, I wasn't a big musical guy, so I was like, whatever. So we scraped together a few bucks, and we managed to have enough money to go and buy tickets for the girls and for us, and have enough money for gas to get back to home base there. And the movie starts, and we're sitting there, and things are going pretty good. Harry's in his glory. His gal is up there on the big screen, and he's got this new twidgen. Cindy, I think her name was Cindy. It just came to me. I guess I could look it up in the book what name I gave her, but I think her name was Cindy. But anyway, Harry's got her arm around her there, and they're sitting there, and everything's going wonderful. And every 2 seconds there's a new song, they dance, and I was like, oh my gosh. And the girl next to me, she seems to be having a good time, and we're enjoying the movie. And so we're sitting there, and the movie starts to get to the climax. And like I mentioned to you, the whole premise of this movie is that the cubic character is kind of a plain Jane, you see, and she wears these frilly dresses all the way up to the top of her chin, and all the way down to her shoes. She don't show an ounce of skin, you see, and she's got this plain. She's pretty, but she's got this plain Jane hairdo, and her boyfriend, he's a hot shot, you see. And, they get in a little argument or something, and they break up, and she's got to win him back, or I don't remember. But anyway, there's this famous scene, and it's at the climax of the movie, you see, and it's the prom or the dance or something, and there's always a friend who's a hairdresser, and the plain Jane gal goes to the hairdresser, and they convince her to have this makeover, and oh my goodness, you talk about a makeover. They transform her, for lack of a better word, from the plain Jane chick to this sexual bombshell. and when she makes an appearance, it's like an atomic bomb of testosterone that erupts throughout the whole movie theater. Just about every male attendee of the movie has, heart palpitations. She's wearing this. She's got her hair done up. She's got this skin-tight leather thing on, and she makes this grand appearance on the staircase. And for Harry, he totally lost it. That was it. She appeared on the screen there, and poor Harry's heart stopped. And he starts convulsing. He's pointing at the screen. And with each step she's taking down the staircase, ba-ba-boom, 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 and the music starts, and there she is in this skin-tight leather thing on. And she looks gorgeous. And Harry's going nuts. He's like, oh my gosh, oh, cubic, oh my goodness gracious. And he starts hyperventilating. And he's going nuts, pointing at the screen, holding his chest. And I'm like, Harry, take it easy, man. It's just a movie. And Cindy, the gal, she's like, calm down. The whole movie house is looking at you. And he's pointing at the screen, trying to talk. He's like, oh, I'm stupid. And he falls down on the ground underneath the seat. And he's rolling around. And he's like foaming at the mouth. And I'm doing my best to stop him. The ushers and people are looking at us. The ushers in the movie house are running up and down the aisles. They think some guy's having a heart attack here. And they got the flashlights going, and people are looking. And poor Harry, I couldn't stop him. And finally, the girls get up. They can't stand it no more. He's making such a spectacle of himself. And they're like, we're out of here. Your friend's an idiot. You're an idiot. Your car's a piece of junk. We're going back to our boyfriends with our sports cars. And they go sit on the other side of the movie house until the movie was thankfully almost over. And they took off. Harry's still rolling around on the floor. I'm like, Harry, stop. Will you please stop? He can't stop. He's absolutely going nuts. And so the movie ends there, and the lights come up, and all these people are looking, and Harry's covered in sweat, and he's full of soda and popcorn from rolling around underneath the chairs, and I'm trying to pick him up, and I'm like, Harry, I had to get him one of those brown paper bags. There was a nurse or something in the movie, and she told me, he's hyperventilating. You make him breathe his own carbon dioxide or something. I don't know. But we finally got his heart rate to come back to normal, you see. Cubic sent him into heart arrest. So I finally get him, and Harry's coming around now, and here comes the manager of the movie theater, and he comes up, he says, you two idiots. He says, don't ever let me see you come back to my movies. He says, you guys are jerks. You disrupted the whole movie house. Get out of here. I'll throw you out. I said, well, I can't help it. It's cubic. She's got the leather skin tight thing. Oh, my goodness. Cruising. John Revolting and cubic zirconium. Black leather, skin tight outfit. Poor Harry. Harry goes to the doctor to this day. And, he gets an examination. The doctor says, Harry, you're in pretty good shape. He says, but, did anyone ever tell you got a little glitch to your heartbeat there? And Harry's like, oh, yeah. He says, that was from the movie, Cubic, in Cruising, when she showed up on a staircase. He says, my heart's never been the same since. And the doctor says, yeah, I got the same thing. I saw the movie, too. It's true, folks. It's in the books. It's in the Night Always Comes and the dance. 1971 Taka Junkie. What a car. It was a really cool car, I'll tell you. I wonder, if the old man was right. I wonder if the Taka Junkie, maybe the Taka Junkie actually came back to us as a garbage can later on. I don't know, but it was quite the vehicle. But could have done without John Revolting in that movie. That just should have had Cubic by herself. Or maybe not, considering we almost lost Harry anyway. But boy, what memories. Well, the adventures go on and on and on, and I'm hoping that I could lay down some more excerpts here and there and just give you a little taste of the adventures of Harry and Paul and other adventures here and there too. And the amazing thing is most of these are based upon kind of factual things. And if you look back, and I look back, and all the folks who came from that neck of the woods in that little tiny 3 to 4, even 5 city block area there, and in the old neighborhood, John Street, Belmont Ave, Cook Street, all of them. We really did have such a wonderful, eclectic collection of folks that lived there, and they were all good people, and I got such great memories. I can't even thank them enough for all the things we experienced and all the things we went through. And in the books, I try my best to get a taste of it, and it's a shame because people don't tell stories like they used to anymore, and I guess that's a byproduct of maybe the technology, and even though the world is so much closer than it used to be years ago, it's still quite distance. We don't really share so much anymore. But anyway, I love there's an excerpt from the book Reunion, and it's where the Paul character sits with his old man, and they're waiting for Harry to come back, and you have to read the entire story, but they're kind of reminiscing, and I really love the exchange between the old man character and his son Paul. And it's certainly based upon the old man character is certainly based upon my own dad, and I think I received more inquiries and more fan mail for any character. I can't say that. I would say the old man is probably like the most popular character of them all. And a lot of the fan mail and emails and praise that I get for the old man character is that people tend to relate to him. They say, oh, my father's just like the old man. I got an uncle who's just like the old man. My husband's like the old man. My brother, blah, blah, blah. So I guess the old man, for lack of a better word, is kind of like a universal character. And people just relate to him. And, Paul, in this scene from Reunion, Paul and his dad are kind of sitting around the kitchen table. I think they're sharing a beer, they're eating or something. And, the old man, very much like my mom and dad, moved out the city and moved up to the country. And the old man character does that too. And they're talking about the old neighborhood, and all the folks are there gathered for a reunion of sorts. And the old man says to his son, he says, oh, I love the new house. It's great, the new neighborhood's nice, blah, blah, blah. But you know something, Paulie, it'll never be the same. It just won't be the same, you see, because it's not the old neighborhood. What we had there was so special, and we didn't realize it at the time, you see. We just didn't realize it at the time. But it was really quite unique and wonderful. And those past times are something very, very special. And I love the little exchange there between Paul and his father. And the old man says, you know, you can go out there, you can ask them all. You can ask Ronzo, you can ask the Big Spike, Harry's old man, Harry's sisters, and they'll all tell you the same thing, that there'll never be anything like the old neighborhood in our lives, ever. And I love that exchange. It's in reunion, and I think it kind of sums it all up. And no matter how far and wide we all travel, all of us who experienced it and lived through it, we always take a piece of the old neighborhood with us, and it was very, very special. But the engineer, he's waving at me and he's telling me I'm down in nuts and bolts, and they got this little microsecond thing that's spinning in front of me, and my goodness gracious, it goes around awful fast. And isn't that true about our own lives? And if you don't take time to kind of slow the microseconds down, they can get away from you. But anyway, I think I'm going to practice my finely tuned instrument here, and that 76 finely tuned. I got to tell you that story about that place sometime. 76, it's unbelievable, folks. But hey, you know, we'll see you next time. Oh my goodness gracious, is that song annoying?
Well, there we go. And I can only imagine if you just happen to be maybe chilling on a Saturday afternoon and you were within earshot, tuning range, and you tuned in that station with this wacko guy here telling these crazy stories. And it's very, very much, I can hear it now. I've listened to that recording many, many times, and obviously remember the incident and doing the whole event, and it was such fun. I was on a work assignment, so eventually I faded away, but I got so the station got so many calls. I can only imagine you hanging around on a Saturday afternoon and maybe the station's playing some rock and roll or some classic rock, or talking about the sports teams that are associated with the university or whatever, and then this wacko comes on. And I guess that's what the point is. For part two of the magic of radio, I certainly was going to talk about shortwave and the hidden stations and some of the ham radio stuff, and make it into a semi-ham radio, shortwave radio tribute podcast. But last night, as I mentioned, with touring around on the independent stations that I was finding and listening to, I dug out the rest of this recording, and I said, wow, you know, I participated in one of those, some babble. And I did a lot of audio work. There's other recordings too, but I believe they're on cassette tape, and I have to find them in the old dusty old boxes, right? We all have these dusty old boxes that contain memories of our lives. And I have a lot of dusty old radios too, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have a lot of fun resurrecting those radios and putting them back on the air. That'll be a fun project. Like I need another project. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening to that snippet from the adventures of Harry and Paul on the radio station from years ago. I tried my best to clean the tape up. Had a lot of audio hiss, so I put it through some technology, and I didn't use AI. I just and that reminds me, you know, before I wrap this one up, and I got to use a lot of minutes, and I got to tell you about the rest of the schedule for the month of October here, but we always have the absurd AI moment that I come across, and I came across AI infused water. There's a company out there. I didn't hear them advertised on the radio last night, and that's one thing about the independents. You don't hear a lot of commercials. Interesting. Maybe a lot of them are not for profit, like the station I was on, but it's a company that claim that AI is in the water, and they used it to enhance the molecular structure of the water for optimum hydration. I would think some. Where's Ralph Nader, right? Remember old Ralph Nader used to go after fake, phony, fraudulent companies that would advertise hooey. At any rate, that's the absurd AI. But I didn't use AI I just use an old technology type cleaner upper that comes with the software. But at any rate, did a pretty good job, and it was fun to listen to. So tune around, get your own radios out, and look for those independent stations. Coming up here in a few weeks, I can't believe the holidays are breathing down our backs here, and we're going to have a special Halloween spooky season. We might have to do 2 podcasts for the holiday, and Paulie's going to get on here, and I'm hoping to lure some Halloween aficionados because I have a number of friends. Amber, this is meant for you, and who love Halloween. And my youngest niece loves Halloween, and her daughter too. And they, they just go nuts over Halloween. But Paulie's going to get on air and tell spooky stories, real stories of encounters I've had over my long, long career in the various buildings and facilities and different um, places and what I've experienced that I can't explain. And I have a essay in experiences about this, the unexplained, and I'm going to get on here and tell real life unexplained ghost stories, so to speak, for the holiday, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So that'll be an upcoming episode. But at any rate, I guess hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy from Paterson, New Jersey, and we really, really appreciate you tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I inspired you to tune your own radios. Hey, please be kind, be gentle, be very tolerant. Remember, kindness is for free. Spread it around as much as you can, and it can only make this world a better place. So go Jets, they're going to come on in a little while. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and some of these folks might stick around for the Jets. I don't know, but at any rate, hey, I hope you enjoyed, and bye-bye for now. We will see you next time. Thank you.